Okay, I'm assuming you can hear me now. Let's go back to the front camera. Okay. Guys, Jackie M here. Thanks again for joining me. Sorry about the audio issue. Hopefully the broadcast stream quality is okay. But yeah, say hello. Let me know where you're watching from. For those of you who are just tuning in for the first time, I am the founder of Masters of Malaysian Cuisine, and I, along with my chefs, actually usually do regular broadcasts on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and also on Sundays. We do special recorded shows on Sundays, but we're actually in this weird space where we're in between series at the moment. For those of you who have caught our Street Food Journey series, you will know that we just wrapped up the series a couple of weekends ago, and we're waiting for a final approval for our next series that's coming up through Tourism Malaysia. Very excited about that. They're very keen to have that happening, but obviously there are processes in place for that to happen. But yeah, for those of you who are watching from Mat John and from AKR, apa rasa, apa khabar semua? Nama saya ialah Jackie M. Saya ialah salah seorang daripada chef dari kumpulan Masters of Malaysian Cuisine. Hari ini kita ada siaran istimewa, ya. We are celebrating chocolate, partly in celebration of the upcoming World Chocolate Day. Apparently there is such a thing, and also partly because our fellow Penang, not Penang born, but Penang connection, Rachel Koo, is going to be on air. Well, she's her new show Chocolat is going to be airing in Malaysia starting this Friday, which is tomorrow. All right, so this is really exciting, and it's all about chocolate and about different ways to use chocolates. So the BBC has actually approached me to try out some of her recipes, which is what we're going to do now. Okay, so if you love chocolate, this is perfect for you. If you're like me, who tends to do a lot of savory stuff, this is perfect for you as well. Okay, but for the people at AKR, because Apakal Rasa is all about baking, about like snacks and that sort of stuff, I'm going to be doing two recipes, two of Rachel's recipes. Now, if you know me, my thing is like Malaysian cooking. But for this particular session, we are, like I said, we are using Rachel's recipes, which means it's a little bit of a, you know, I'm outside my comfort zone to a large extent, okay? So the two recipes we're going to do today are, first of all, dark chocolate cookies, and they are called, let me just have a quick look, I just want to make sure I get the names right. Okay, they are date and dark chocolate cookies. That's one of them, and the other recipe we're doing is actually a chili crisp that we're going to serve up with some noodles. Okay, so it's called Cacao chili crisp noodles and bak choy. I'm not using bak choy, but you know, we're going to talk about that a little bit. Okay, so if you're like me, for those of you who are in Malaysia, if you do a lot of Malaysian cooking, you may actually, like, you know, be a little bit, I guess, outside your comfort zone in terms of the ingredients in these recipes, like I was actually, because like I said, first of all, I'm very savory, and second of all, I'm very Malaysian. I'm unabashedly Malaysian, and more specifically Malaysian hawker food. Okay, so the ingredients kind of like well, not the sort of stuff I use in my cooking, and also the techniques are not what I actually do use in my cooking. Okay, but let's actually get started. We're going to make the cookies first. We're going to set them aside, okay, and then we're going to make the cookie dough. We're going to set it aside, and then we're going to hop on to the noodles, to the crisp, the chili crisp, and the chili crisp will have chocolate cacao in them, and then we're going to go back to the cookies, okay, to see how they turn out. Okay, first of all, okay, here we go. Okay, now, like I said, we're going to talk about the ingredients a little bit, because I just want to kind of like give you an idea about how you would adapt, how I actually adapted my my cooking and my recipes for this particular session, because they are not the sort of ingredients I typically use in my cooking. Okay, so I had to go out and buy some dark chocolate melts first of all, so we're going to use some of that. Remember, we're making dark chocolate cookies. Okay, and the other ingredient was dates. Okay, I think most Malaysians will have dates. I don't actually typically have dates, but she did mention in her recipe that you can use other types of soft dried fruits as well. So if you don't have dates, look for apricots, figs, prunes, but you got to roughly chop them. Thankfully, thankfully I actually did have some dates, and I think I bought them for a separate like Western project, Western as in Western cuisine project, okay, which I don't usually do. I do very Malaysian stuff. Okay, so I'll put some dates here, and you want to roughly chop. Oh, you know what? I'm going to switch the camera over. I just forgot. Okay, let me have a look. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, let me just minimize this a little bit. Hey Fish, how are you? Good to see you. Instagram overhead. Okay, here we go. Okay, so we've got some figs. Okay, so we're gonna roughly chop them up. Okay, who eats a lot of cookies? I couldn't remember the last time I ate cookies actually when I was going through this recipe. So and I definitely, I don't know if I've ever, like, you know, probably in the last 20 years, I don't think I've ever actually made any cookies. So this is completely new to me, okay? But I think maybe this will, if nothing else, it will help kind of like, I guess, to some extent, you know, if you don't do a lot of cooking, it will give you some comfort that even those of us who cook for a living don't necessarily know exactly what's going on all the time, okay? So here we go. So we're going to roughly chop the dates, and I like the camera setup. Thanks. How are you, Fish? How's your new movie or your new show? Is it a movie or is it a series? I think it was a series, right? Okay, here we go. So we've got this, and you know what? Let's throw this in. Okay, so dates, and I think from memory, I'm going to have to keep referring to the recipes because, like I said, they are not my recipes, they're Rachel's recipes. Rachel actually, like I said, has a Malaysian connection because her father is actually from Malaysia. And actually, she won't know this, she doesn't know me, but I know that she's actually related to one of my friends that I've collaborated with in the past, okay? Dark chocolate, okay? Now, you can use like whole like bars of dark chocolate and crush them roughly. I'm using these chocolate, you know, it shows how little I know about Western cooking. I didn't realize that these were actually like in these big things, okay? And speaking of chocolates, by the way, guys, it's a movie dealing with legal stuff. It should be shooting come September. Oh, okay, cool. Oh, so it's a little bit set back. Okay, cool. Yeah, I thought you were filming already. Okay, so we're just going to kind of like chop these up roughly, right? I can't believe Fish is talking to me. Like, Fish has been following me on Twitch for years, but then I stopped broadcasting on Twitch and I only like just came back, but recently, but not myself per se, but just airing like my chef's sessions sort of thing. So good to catch up with you, Fish. Those of you who don't know, Fish is actually a Hollywood producer. Okay, so I think this is okay, roughly chopped. Okay, so let's throw this in. And you know what? The other thing I'm going to mention is the way I do my cooking, I use a lot of shortcuts, okay? So Rachel's technique was a little bit more kind of, I guess, there are more steps in it, okay? Now, the other thing I want to mention, I'm just using plain flour here, but she did specify to use kind of almost half and half wholemeal flour and plain flour, okay? I'm just going to go with plain flour. I don't have wholemeal flour, okay? And sugar, okay, no, the sugar she mentioned to kind of like whip with the butter. So let's just chop up the butter a little bit. I bet like 90% of you guys are more familiar with making cookies than I am, because I don't do it. I haven't done it. But you're doing well. Oh, thank you, Fish. And yeah, I don't know if you caught my mention about Street Food Journeys. We kept like changing it up as we went along because it was an 8-week series. and Tourism Malaysia is really happy with it. If you guys want the e-magazine, by the way, let me just pull up that. Oh no, I can't. Oh yes, I can. The e-magazine. Oh, I'll do it later on. So I did the e-magazine and put it out this morning, sent it out this morning. If you want a copy of it, it has like the 16 recipes from the series, and I'll send it out to you. Okay, so you just need to sign up to my email list. Okay, so that's the butter. Like I said, Rachel did specify to actually kind of like beat this up with the sugar. So I'm just actually just gonna go for it. Okay, I'm just gonna add sugar. She did mention to beat it up with the sugar till it's soft but not fluffy, you know what I mean? So anyway, I'm just gonna mix it through like this. And then she called for brown sugar. Thankfully, she called for dark brown sugar. This was the closest I could find. I have lots and lots of palm sugar, Malaysian dark brown sugar, but I wanted to let you know. If I didn't find this, I would have used Malaysian palm sugar, gula melaka, right? But I managed to find some brown sugar, but it's not something I usually keep at home. I would have liked the, you know, the only reason I would have had it was because of like a previous project or something like that, a previous video I had to do for someone or something using that, okay? So I think Katsu, Katsu from Apakal Rasa would be very, very familiar with making this, okay? It's a simple cookie, but again, like I said, I don't usually make cookies, okay? Now, the other ingredients, okay, let's put in the other sugar, okay? Now, the other thing I want to mention is like, I usually find like Western cakes and cookies really, really sweet, okay? But I'm following Rachel's recipe quite closely here. I mean, notwithstanding the fact that I don't have like, you know, the wholemeal flour and that sort of stuff. So I want to make sure that it turns out, okay? But were I to actually, like once I've made it one time, I would actually like try and experiment with less sugar and stuff like that. Okay, it's just kind of my palate, like I can't really handle too much sugar. Okay, so that's the butter and 2 types of sugar, like half and half, caster sugar and brown sugar, okay? And this is the flour that's going in. And you want some baking powder and bicarb of soda in here, okay? And you want a bit of salt. And you want some egg, okay? And let's mix all this in, and then we'll throw in the chunky stuff, okay? Okay. Hopefully this works. Okay, this is half a batch, and by the way, if you want this recipe, sorry guys, like I said, I'm still recovering from a cold. If you want this recipe, I'm gonna put it into a PDF for you and send it out to you guys, okay? So make sure you sign up though at malaysianchefs.com/join today, and I will organize to get that out to you as soon as it's ready. It'll take me a little bit because I've got a lot of stuff to do, okay? But once I've got everything, but in the meantime, right, if you sign up at malaysianchefs.com/join today, you will immediately get access to our most recent edit of our sign up cookbook, okay, with recipes courtesy of my MOMC chefs, Masters of Malaysian Cuisine chefs. And then 24 hours after that, you will get sent out a copy of our latest e-magazine, okay, which in this case is my my Street Food Journeys Malaysia issue, okay. And of course, course, if you've been on my email list for a while, you know that I send out all the recipes from all our sessions, okay? And you will likewise get these recipes. These ones are courtesy of Rachel, okay, and the BBC. Okay, so this is what it looks like. And what we want to do now is, let me just put on the glove. What we want to do now is just split it into 8 equal parts, okay? Like I said, I'm totally actually just agak-king here, okay? Which in Malay just means guesstimate. So I'm just going to split it in half, half again, and half again, okay, to get me 8. Okay. And then you want to roll them up into balls, okay? And again, like I said, I don't make cookies, okay? I do hawker food, I do Malaysian hawker food, so this is very, very different to what I usually would do, okay? But it doesn't look too hard. Roll it into balls, okay? And you want to set the oven. You're using a fan-forced oven. You want to preheat it to 180 degrees. And cook it for 10 to 12 minutes, okay? Here you go. So they look like protein balls, don't they? Okay. Now, Rachel actually says to stick this in the fridge overnight, okay? But assuming you've done that, just spread them out in the baking tray, because they will flatten, obviously, when they cook. And they go in the oven, okay? So easy enough. Okay, so we got that out of the way. Let me just move this. Now, something that I'm a little bit more comfortable making, which is the chili crisp noodles. I'm just going to read out Rachel's notes about this quickly, okay? I mean, at first glance, it doesn't look too different. For those of you who've been following me, I don't do a lot of cooking nowadays live because I usually host our chefs instead. But for those of you who have followed me, you might have caught me do these jelly noodles a while back. It was a few months back now, and that was I think that created quite a lot of interest because like people are not used to seeing jelly, you know, like kind of like a jelly mold being scraped and turned into noodles. But the sauce that got used to toss through the jelly noodle sounds very similar to what we're making now, okay? So these are what she calls chili crisp, okay? And this is what Rachel says. She says, I've had chili crisp sauce a few times in various Chinese restaurants, but it wasn't until recently I actually knew it's super easy to make at home. It's now become a must-have ingredient in my fridge as it lends itself to putting in everything from eggs, fried eggs, cheese on toast, to roasted vegetables, steamed fish, anything, whatever it is, you know, to kind of like jazz things up a little bit. So this is what we're making, and after that we're going to actually toss them through some noodles, okay? So what we want are, now again, I'm very Malaysian. I don't have a lot of the ingredients that she actually calls for in this recipe, so I'm just going to adapt, okay? Let me just bring, okay, first of all, cacao nibs. I don't have cacao nibs. I actually had to ask Paul, what are cacao nibs, you know? Let's bring these over here. Okay, that plus some oil. And what we're going to do actually is just heat up some water in the meantime, okay? Because we're going to use that to blanch the noodles and the vegetables afterwards. Okay, let's a little bit more water. Okay. So also, yeah, you know what? I'm going to heat up the water in my Thermomix. I just realized, because I only have the one stove. It'll probably be faster anyway. Okay, so I'm just basically using this to boil the water. Okay, now as far as the ingredients, I couldn't get a hold of cacao nibs. I don't know whether it's because of the lockdown and everyone was kind of panic buying and a lot of people wanted to do baking. The closest I could find was cacao powder. Okay, so this is cacao powder. And also she asked for some salted peanuts. This is actually just blanched peanuts. They're not salted, okay? Also some sugar. And some salt. She called for sea salt flakes. I don't have sea salt flakes. I've just got your usual boring Malaysian, not Malaysian, table salt. Okay. Some ginger. Oh, you know what? I forgot about the nuts for the cookies. Okay. Okay. So they'll be nut free. Okay. These cookies. Yeah. So the nuts were supposed to go into cookies. But yeah, I don't think it's going to be a major deal. Okay, the key ingredient in this is Szechuan peppercorns. Okay, so I do have some Szechuan peppercorns because I got really into Szechuan kind of like cumin lamb for a while. And then we got, she called for shallots. I don't have shallots, I've got onions. I'm just going to use onion. And then she called for baby bok choy, which I don't have. These are choy sum. Okay, so we're going to use that. And as far as noodles, I do have these noodles. These are just like fresh rice noodles, flat, kind of like wide cut fresh rice noodles. So we're going to use that to serve these with. But what I need is actually a mandolin to kind of like thinly slice this. So let me just go and grab that. Okay, so I've got the mandolin. Let me just move this out of the way a little bit. I'm going to heat up some oil. You want about 2 cups of oil. So I'll get the oil started. You know what? Use this. Okay, let's heat up the oil. And we want to use the mandolin to slice this. Okay, so a mandolin helps you to just kind of like get it all evenly, like, you know, thin, okay? I'm really impressed there are no drop frames yet. I know usually when we broadcast, we use StreamYard. For those of you who followed MOMC for a long time, you'll know that we use StreamYard to do our broadcast. But before MOMC, I used to use what I'm using now to do my broadcast. Okay, but because I haven't done it for a while, I wasn't sure it was going to work. Sure enough, there were some minor technical issues at the start because nobody could hear me, but apparently it's all sorted out now. Okay, so we've got these thinly shredded. The oil's not quite hot enough, but I find it interesting that Rachel actually says, let me just double check. Okay. that you're adding it straight to the oil without having to wait for it to heat up, okay? So let's do that. And in the meantime, the other ingredients. Okay, there were some shallots which I don't have. Oh, okay, I thought, oh yeah, shallots. I kind of thought that she meant like spring onion. That's what happens when you're Australian and you're reading recipes written in a different version of English, you know. Okay, so now where we're different, okay, like I said, there are some ingredients here in Rachel's recipe which I don't have. One's ancho chili, I had to Google that. Chipotle chili, also didn't have that, so we're skipping that. And she did call for dried chili flakes, and I do have some dried chili flakes. I didn't quite have enough of it, but I'll mix it with some crushed, like almost chili powdery stuff here. Okay, so this is a combination of crushed chilies and chili flakes. So like I said, we got the Szechuan pepper and the salted peanuts. We're going to pretend it's salted, it's not. Sugar, ginger, and the oil. Okay, so this is, let me just mix this through. Okay, now I do a lot of crispy onion cut on a regular basis. If you watch my broadcast, you know that, right? So this I am quite comfortable doing, okay? But the idea is to turn them into crispy fried onion. Okay, so we want, let me just read this out to you so I can process it as I go along as well. Okay, so we want a mortar and pestle or spice grinder to blitz these ingredients, okay? You want to retain a bit of the chunk. Okay, let me just grab my mortar and pestle here, okay? Let's have a quick look. Okay, so let's crush these. Oh, you know what? Let me just crush the peanuts first, okay? I used to think, because I bought a lot of crushed, like these peanuts for making satay sauce with back in the day when I had my restaurant. I used to think they were raw peanuts. They're not. They're actually blanched, okay? So they are cooked. They just look white. But the great thing about these is that they've got the skin off sort of thing. And I don't know, I see a lot of people who make nasi lemak, overseas Malaysians, when they make nasi lemak, which is a Malaysian like coconut rice dish that has a, what do you call it? Malaysian coconut rice dish that usually gets served with some peanuts, okay? They always use these types of peanuts with the skin off. I don't know whether it's because they can't get the ones with the skin on. Because here in Australia you can get both, right? The ones with the skin on is what I use for the nasi lemak, and the ones with the skin off are what I use for satay sauce, okay? I'm using this because I'm using the Thermomix to boil water, otherwise I'd be blitzing this in the Thermomix. I know I have other implements here to do the blitzing, but I want to save on the washing up. Okay, so you're going to find with frying the onion, by the way, guys, or onion or shallots, whatever it is you go with, that like it will froth up quite a bit, okay? Especially if you're frying onions like I am, because onions contain a lot of moisture. So you just want to make sure that you have enough of a leeway between the top of the oil and the top of your saucepan. Otherwise, when it bubbles up, when it froths up, you might end up causing a bit of a kitchen emergency, okay? So we've crushed this, okay? I don't want to go too nuts. Get it too nuts with it. Okay, let's just throw it back in here. Part of the reason I'm not putting too much pressure on this is because this is actually sitting on top of a stove top. Okay, so we've got the peanuts, and we're going to do the same with the citron peppercorns. I'm pretty sure that's what we're going to do. Let me just do a quick read. Nibs are still rather whole. Crush the cacao nibs. Okay, so because I'm using some peanuts, add both of the bowls with the chili flakes, salt and sugar. Place the fresh ginger, cut the slices into, okay, that's done. Okay, so the idea is to combine all this. Just let me have a look at the comments. All sounding and looking good. Hey Elias, how are you? Greeting from Amsterdam. Good to see you. Elias Mohammed is one of our new members of Masters of Malaysian Cuisine at Heart, and Elias is going to be part of our next campaign for Mafi in Europe, so make sure you guys stay tuned for this. Okay, very, very excited. We've got some a major campaign happening in Europe that's going to be run virtually with a number of chefs based in Europe and with the support of the rest of our M1C chefs. You see these, like how they're changing color now. You're going to find anytime you fry any onion, okay, or shallots, that it seems to take forever and forever and nothing seems to be happening. But when they start changing color, everything is going to happen very, very quickly. Okay, I just got to warn you, just keep a close eye on it when that happens. The other thing is, like, depending on the kind of like implement, that if you're using a wok, this will be more relevant. Okay, because if you're using a thin wok, you're going to find the heat distribution will be largely around the rim sort of thing. So you want to actually make sure that you continue to move things around a little bit so that they all cook evenly, rather than like have the onions scattered on the outer being like too brown, whereas the middle ones are still uncooked. Okay, these are good to come out. Hang on a sec. Okay, so what you want to do, let's turn off the heat. See, it's just browned up very, very quickly at the last minute, and you're going to find that they will continue to brown up after you take them out of the oil. Okay. Okay, you see? So you want to make sure that you take it out before it gets to the color that you want to achieve, okay? Otherwise, if you leave it too late, like if you take it out when you think, oh, it looks perfect now, you're going to find that it will continue to brown and it will burn, okay? So we've got the citron peppercorns crushed. We've got the peanuts crushed. I kind of feel it could crush a little bit more. Let's throw it back in briefly. Okay, so let's throw this back in here. Oops, let's just take the last little swivel. Okay, so what we're going to do is put this stove back on, this pot, and put on the water. So the water's already come to a boil in my Thermomix, so I'm just basically reheating it, bringing it back up to temperature. So remember, crushed peanuts, citron peppercorns, salt, sugar. You see my sugar's a little bit lame because it's old. Cacao, okay. Ginger. And chili flakes, okay. So if you've got the fancy chilies, you want that and chili flakes. If you don't, like me, you're just using chili flakes, okay. So all of this, and what we're meant to do now, I hope this works. And smell the cocoa, the cocoa from the cacao powder. But what we want to do is pour the onion oil in here. Okay. Good. Okay, I'm very intrigued to know how this is going to taste. So this is essentially like those Chinese, like crispy chili condiments, except it's got cacao in it for good measure. Okay, so let's mix it through. Let's put a little bit of oil over here. Okay, I want to make sure. Okay, this is how it looks so far. You want about 2 cups of oil, remember. Okay, it's intriguing. It's not burnt, that's a good sign. Okay, bit more oil. Okay, so the water is boiling here. Okay, what we want to do is blanch the vegetables. Okay, so we've got like both the stems and the leaves. Okay, I want to throw the stems in first, a couple of seconds before I throw in the leaves. Throw in the leaves. They don't need to cook for that long at all, okay? Especially not this type of vegetables, because they wilt very, very quickly. If you're using baby bok choy, even more so, you would take what I used to do is when I had my restaurant, I'll tell my staff, when you're cooking baby bok choy, put it in the boiling water, count to 5, take it out, okay? Don't let it sit and simmer or anything like that, because you will overcook it. Okay, so in goes the noodles. Okay, and likewise with the noodles, they're already cooked. If you're using these types of noodles, they're already cooked. If you're not, if you're using like dried noodles, like, you know, say like Paul in South Africa would have to, because they can't get fresh rice noodles there, then you just cook it according to the instructions on the packet, okay? These ones, they're already cooked. You're just basically literally just reheating them through and softening them, okay? And in fact, you could just pour hot boiling water over it and just tip it out and it would be done. Okay, so you got the noodles, you got the vegetables, and this at this stage is actually vegan, okay, because there's no no meat or anything in it. Now what you want to do is just toss the noodles through with some black vinegar, okay, Chinese black vinegar, and some soy sauce. I'm actually going to use fish sauce. I'm more partial to fish sauce now that I've lived in Australia for like 30 plus years, okay, and you're going to put some of this on it. And toss it through. Okay, so there you go. Pretty easy, right? And this will keep in a jar, right? And you want to actually just sprinkle some the crispy fried shallots over it. And voila, okay? So this is vegan. And the cookies, I made some earlier. This is what they look like done. That's my attempt at the cookies. Okay, they're quite soft and moist. Here you go. All right, so there you go. 2 chocolate recipes, 1 savory, 1 sweet. And if you want the recipes, guys, like I said, I do have them, and I'm going to format them into PDFs that you can access. That I'll send out to you to my email list. So make sure you sign up, okay? If you want access to it, let me just pull up the screen. Media file. Okay. So there you go. MalaysianChefs.com/join today. Just sign up there and you get all our recipes, and also you get that e-magazine on the left that says Street Food Journeys Malaysia. I did it and I just sent it out this morning, but if you sign up today, you will get like a different e-cookbook as your welcome kind of like, you know, thing for signing up. And then tomorrow or 24 hours later, you'll get this e-magazine sent out to you, okay? So there you go. Thanks again to Apakal Rasa for co-streaming this. Also Mat John, as always, of course. And of course, I'm from MOMC, and Tourism Malaysia supports our activities. So thank you very, very much for all this. And let me just hide this. All right, guys, let me just pull it back up to the front camera. So pretty easy, pretty quick. Hit me up if you've got any questions. You know where to find me on social media everywhere. And I will see you in our next broadcast, which actually is going to be brought to you from the Embassy of Malaysia in Serbia this weekend. Time to be determined. And we're going to have the Malaysian Chargé d'Affaires of the Embassy of Malaysia in Serbia. He's going to be cooking along with a couple of our MOMC at Heart chefs. So looking forward to that. Thanks again, guys. Don't forget also Rachel Khoo's Chocolat is tomorrow, starting tomorrow in Malaysia, and you can watch it via Unified TV or BBC Player. All right. Thanks again, guys.